We are moving to the States, and we are starting these lessons about American artists with Frank Lloyd Wright. He was an architect, and he invented the organic architecture. He was a student of Louis Henry Sullivan. Sullivan was the architect who, by the end of the 80s, projected the first skyscrapers. You know, skyscrapers are very tall buildings, and that was because Chicago had very little ground left to build up on it. So that's why they started building up skyscrapers. Frank Lloyd Wright, though, he was very much influenced by the Japanese architecture, especially because this idea of continuum of the inside and outside. Do you know that Japanese architecture has these very thin walls that can move also, no? So this idea of flexibility in the house. Then these rice paper walls, which are very thin, and also the light can go through. So he loved Japanese architecture and all the possibilities that they may arise, inspiring on them. Well, that's other examples of this idea of continuity between external and internal. So how can we define organic architecture? Well, first of all, organic, it means that it's inspired in nature. We got this idea of the Japanese idea of the continuum between the inside and the outside of the building. That's why sometimes they use glass, or, for example, like Japanese, this rice paper. They usually use local materials, so stone and wood around the area where they are building. They respect natural life, and there is a new building conception, which houses are not boxes anymore, but are something different, something alive. The most important work of Frank Lloyd Wright, and most innovative actually, it's the really famous house, waterfall house, or the Kaufman house, because that was the name of the customer. So apparently Wright went to this place where there was a waterfall, and he fell in love with this area, and he absolutely wanted to build a house on the top of the waterfall, not by the side, but really on it, so that you could feel the running water under your feet. And this was one of the most innovative building he projected. You can see it was built with many terraces. In these terraces you can find stone on the walls and concrete on the floor. The stone is limestone. You can see also the use of glass everywhere, so that you have this idea of inside and outside. All the materials were from the surroundings, and we mentioned before. This is the main room, the hall, which was inspired by the prairie houses, which were the first buildings that Frank Lloyd Wright projected. And the heart of the house is the fireplace, okay, like it was also in the prairie houses. And also he took from the prairie houses the idea of a big open space without divisions, without walls. That's another picture of the hall. Lights everywhere, also in the corridors and everywhere. You can see this idea of of light and nature which melts inside the house. That's the plan of the house. As you can see, there is not a box anymore, or also if we see it from profile from another section, you can see that there are many levels, and all these levels are founded on the pendants of the ground. No? You can see here the plan, and so many spaces and rectangles and squares that are that take part in this project. Then there is another masterpiece projected by Frank Lloyd Wright, which is the Solomon Guggenheim Museum. It was inspired by a shell. And well, the most interesting thing of this building is that it's a radical new shape, okay, because it's a spiral form around an open wall with a huge skylight as a roof. So it means that you can, if you face to the corridor of the museum, you can see all the floors, all the stories, in a continuum line. The idea was to make a new sort of museum, okay? So he hated the idea of museums that are divided by many rooms. Instead, this was a unique line that wraps this wall in a spiral shape. Also, it is very important, the light which is on the dome. Now this is made in glass, so there is light that projected to all the building. Okay, inspired by a shell, as I said, and the idea of a ziggurat. Well, that's the dome. That's where the spiral starts or ends, it depends on the point of view, and we can see that it goes down. Okay. Well, that's the summarize synthesis of this. The circulation pattern is very simple. Visitors are taken up to the top floor by a lift directly upon entering the museum. Then they walk down the gentle slope of the spiral ramp to the ground floor, being their exhibits on their design with changing colors and forms. So it means they don't have even to climb up to the top floor because there is a lift, and then just like go down gently by this slope. Material. What were the materials used? Concrete, glass, obviously on the dome, and well, that's it, because that were the two essential materials used by Frank Lloyd Wright. Dome, we said. Okay, that's a picture of the dome. You can see the light that comes in, and you can see also the spiral slope that goes down gently, wrapping the wall.